India is a land of dreams, where images, however fleeting, are remembered long after the journey's end. The railway is her lifeline, crossing not only distances, but bridging the boundaries of her many cultures. For over 900 million people, the railway has become a great unifier. Over 1.5 million must work to keep it going. The Great Indian Railway touches the lives of everyone. For nothing is more a part of this country than the trains which are part of its soul. Over a century ago, the sound of the steam locomotive could be heard across the land as it rolled through the desert and the plains of India. In those days, villages and cities were isolated by vast distances, and the coming of the train would change them forever. Legends were told of the great fire eater that walked on lines of steel and breathed white clouds of smoke. Those who did not fear it came to see it for themselves. In remote outposts where there were no stations, banyan trees often marked the train stop, and people anticipated its arrival like the coming of a great ship. There was always entertainment to greet the travelers, celebrating the trip for the magical event that it was. What had taken weeks by bullock cart could now be made in a matter of days. The hero was the driver. He was assigned one engine for life and cared for it as though it were a part of him, making sure it was fed coal and watered. It was like a living creature preparing for the long journey ahead. If there ever was a heart and soul of the railway, it began here with these locomotives. They were the symbol of the British Empire and held the romance of an age when men and machines united the country for the first time. But this era couldn't last forever. Now, the super-fast express trains command the rails and are moving India into a new century. The railway is a living legacy of the British, who dominated the subcontinent for nearly 200 years. They laid down the first rails in 1850, and by Indian independence, dozens of railways reached across hundreds of princely states and territories. Today, all have been merged into one, stretching nearly 40,000 miles and connecting over 7,000 stations. It is the largest railway under a single management in the world. Frontier Mail, the Tamil Nadu Express, the Punjab Mail, all long-distance trains renowned in history. But one of the oldest is the Grand Trunk Express, and it travels nearly the length of the country. Indians love to travel, whether it be on a religious pilgrimage or to visit relatives far away. They pack everything and bring everyone. They can go anywhere in the country for less than $7. Space has a whole different meaning on an Indian train. People like to sit next to each other, talk and share stories. And a stranger isn't a stranger for long. More than 11,000 trains travel through India every day. But it's in the three-tier second-class coaches that the real spirit of the country can be found.
If anyone wants to know what India is all about, you could just travel in one of these trains and you could talk to people, you see. You'll actually meet people from different parts of the country, and you can actually have a look into the various cultures, you see. Now there's a cultural diversity in India. You can actually enjoy this cultural diversity traveling in such long trains, say, which goes from one end of the nation to the other end. Such long trains you can enjoy. If you're really interested, definitely you will experience it.
Every Indian train has ticketless passengers who are part of its character. Gypsies, beggars, and sweeper boys who make their living earning tips between stations.
I meet every type of people here. Maybe they are millionaires, they are the poorest. They are engineers, doctors, bankers, every type of persons I am meeting. And when I travel, I have an opportunity to talk to them, make friendship with them. We sometimes come closer to them and we become family friends for life.
We are going to Betul because I'm getting married there, and all my relatives and friends and parents, everybody are coming there just because of my marriage.
Train journey, I am in a business trip. This is my business trip. So I am moving always in the trains from different part of the country.
We have the opportunity to see the natural beauty of the whole country, because the natural beauty also changes from each and every 200 kilometers. You will find the change in the trees and the landscape, which you will not get it when you fly by plane. So that is one of the reasons also we have taken the decision to go by.
It's wonderful. It's a wonderful way to see India and feel that you're a part of India and not so much separate from it. You know, you're here and you're eating here and sleeping here with everybody else, and it's great. It's a wonderful way to see the country.
How do you feel about traveling on the railway?
How do you feel? Very nice?
Very nice.
For centuries, explorers have been drawn to the east. In the 1660s, the British took possession of the strand of islands that curved into the Arabian Sea. They would make them the great port city of Bombay. Their gateway of India still stands as a memory of their empire's former glory. Bombay is now one of India's fastest growing cities. And the British presence seems unchanged at Victoria Terminus. Opened in 1888, it was built on the site of the first railway station. But now it's the headquarters of Central, the busiest of 9 zones in the Indian Railway. From this historic place, one of the most important men in the railway oversees his domain. This is the seat of power of the general manager.
Problem between Kiratgarh and Kesla. There was a disaster.
Every morning, Virendra Vishnu calls upon his officers to account for every detail in a monumental system. From major accidents to minor delays, nothing escapes his attention.
As many as 8 trains, they have all been fired.
It was from this same office that the British ran their railway. And with independence in 1947, they turned it over to Indian leadership.
All right. Hello, Jabalpur.
But now the GM controls a far more complex network. With 200,000 men beneath him, he runs 2,000 trains a day.
Madan. Namaskar. What is happening today? What are your prospects of loading?
Sir, yesterday we did 8.5.
Ajay, you just speak to CME. Your diesel utilization has slumped. Your diesel utilization has slumped. Your sick wagon balances and all the yards are heavy. The stable loads are heavy. Just speak to CME.
Hello.
हेलो मदान
Yes, sir.
हाँ लाल बोल रहा हूँ कटनी शेड
हाँ.
for the last 15 days it has been having very high failure rate. Some tightening up is required in Katni. Some tightening up is required in Katni.
What is required?
Tightening up. Tightening up is required in Katni.
Vishnu is more than a figurehead. If something goes wrong, he shoulders the full responsibility. And every month, he makes it a point to leave his office and visit his men in the field.
Give your guidance.
Okay.
And it should be deemed to be approved by GM. आप ये issue करा दीजिए because I am going on an inspection on the ghat section. There should be a bigger, we must fix responsibility. And the truckers, the trucker strike, Mr. Mathur, has to be taken care of because unless you do,
Few traditions have changed since the days when the British walked these halls. And like them, Vishnu sets out on a surprise inspection to make spot checks along the line. But where the GM is concerned, nothing is a secret for long. And word of his coming has already been passed down the line. Like a present-day Maharaja, Vishnu holds court in his private inspection coach, with full kitchen staff in attendance and all the ceremonies inherited from his predecessors.
the Indian Railways constitute the lifeline of India. And it was given to us by the British. They gave us 2 things. The Indian Railways and a very powerful administrative system run by the bureaucrats. We're now going on an inspection trip, and during this inspection trip we propose to go over the entire railway lines, see what management techniques are there, see how the cabins, the points and the people who manage these points look after themselves and look after the equipment. Each one has his area of responsibility, and a super check has to be exercised. So when we go out tonight, our objective is to find out what deficiencies are there and take measures to overcome them.
No single person can possibly check on everything. The system depends on workers whose dedication goes largely unseen. Under the eyes of the cabin men, tens of thousands of coaches transport more than 12 million people a day, and one mistake can cost thousands of lives. For this is a human railway, where the strength of a lever man means the safe passage of a train. It is the largest employer in the world. Officially 1.6 million work for the railway. But Vishnu estimates that nearly 80 million people depend on it for their livelihood. The railway touches even the most remote corners of the country. There are over 38,000 level crossings and as many as 100,000 gatekeepers who man the roads. Inspections are endless, and over 100,000 bridges need to be seen to. For station masters, the inspection trolley may be the most comfortable way of getting around. But one of the lowest workers on the ladder is perhaps the most important one. Every day, the key man walks the same stretch, 4 miles down and 4 miles back, checking every inch of track, making sure that all the bolts are in place. He's one of thousands of unsung heroes. If the key man is there, then all is safe. But despite the constant vigilance, hundreds of accidents take place every year. Tunnels are especially dangerous and must be continually checked for loose rock, which could fall on the passing trains. Using long wooden poles, some tunnels are still sounded by hand. A cave-in could cause a major catastrophe.
Very good.
When we go out in the field and interact with the lowest functionary in the railways, he may be a railwayman, he may be a pointsman, a gateman, and the general manager goes to him, meets him, shakes his hands and gives him a reward or reprimands him. The news goes round everywhere. He will be very happy to be reprimanded by a general manager. And there are some people, they come and touch my feet, and in India that's a custom. So that sort of a thing happens. It happens everywhere. So it's a very satisfying experience to be around, to be heading an organization like the Central Railway. Given an opportunity, I'll do it all over again.
Thank you.
Calcutta. Some have called her a city of darkness. Others know her as the city of joy. But nowhere in India is a place more alive and life more bizarre. Her legendary streets have nothing to hide. 6 million refugees fleeing famines and wars have descended upon her. And Calcutta turns no one away. Even the gods live in her streets and are symbols of the city's spirit. Howrah Bridge is the busiest bridge in the world, where hundreds of thousands fight to make their way across every day. For this is the link to Howrah Station, where travelers have their first taste of the city's urban madness. It's the largest station in India and somehow manages to cope with nearly 1 million people every day. Built in 1906 on the site of an orphanage, Howrah offers shelter to everyone and has become a city unto itself. It's up to one man to supervise it all.
Good morning.
The station manager, Mr. Mitra, oversees a staff of 2,500 people providing services for every imaginable situation. It has worked so well for so long that many of the old ways are still in place. With his entourage of deputies, the station manager makes the inspection rounds. But tolerance underlies everything here, and he'll overlook those who have come from the villages, bringing only what they can carry, and dreams of a better life. Howrah is their refuge before venturing out into the city. Some will stay for days. Others will camp out for weeks. For them, it is more than just a destination. Howrah has become their home. But there is order amid what appears to be confusion. The station manager upholds a strict code of cleanliness, and if a vendor is found to be lacking, he will write him up.
करना चाहिए आपको नोट कर लीजिए नोट
Over 500 trains arrive and depart every day. But the 12:50 arrival of the Rajdhani Express is perhaps the most eagerly awaited.
Today train is very late. Today train is very late.
She is the flagship of the modern railway, one of the fastest, most expensive trains in the country, and her late arrival spurs a rush to the platform. Her clientele is India's upper class. And the baggage coolies who know this will risk their lives to meet the train. This one tip can make their day. There are 1,600 coolies at Howrah, and their job is coveted. They pay the railway 30 cents a month for their uniform and the right to solicit travelers. And only the most aggressive can survive. For those who do leave Howrah, it is a land of fond farewells. But the station and Calcutta are not easily left behind, and their images will long be remembered. The Grand Trunk Express continues southbound. The trip from New Delhi to Madras will last 38 hours. But for many, the journey is an adventure, and it doesn't matter how long it takes.